Welcome to At Issue. I'm H. Wayne Wilson. Thank you so much for joining us, and I thank my guests for joining me as well for a discussion of the Warehouse District. We're going to define the Warehouse District, find out what the future holds for the Warehouse District in Peoria, and we're going to visit Omaha, where the old market has a lot of similarities to Peoria's Warehouse District. And with that, let's introduce the panelists. Pat Sullivan is here. Pat, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Many of you will know Pat as the owner of Kelleher's. However, he really owns La Vue Carré and the Seal Test buildings and some other properties in the Warehouse District. So Pat, thank you for being with us. Chris Setti joins us. Chris is Special Projects Manager for the City of Peoria.
Thank you.
And Chris is the person who will lend city expertise to us in terms of definition. And from the City Council, Ryan Spain. Ryan is also the Vice President at Heartland Partnership. We thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Or one of the Vice Presidents, not the Vice President. And with that, Chris, what is the Warehouse District?
Well, if you think of the Warehouse District, it's generally the space between the bridges, between the Bob Michael Bridge and the Cedar Street Bridge. It actually extends beyond MacArthur Avenue to include some of the facilities down there, including Tri-City Machine, the Prairie Center for the Arts. But it is kind of the area right adjacent to downtown that has some of the great old structures in Peoria, along Washington Street, Adams, and Jefferson. It basically goes from the river all the way up to Jefferson Street, so kind of inclusive of the area around the stadium.
And of course, that includes some of your properties. You have developed some properties and some you haven't. Have you found some difficulties early on in developing a warehouse?
Yeah, and one of the biggest difficulties was the codes that were set for Peoria builders and so forth, and developers were all greenfield type codes. So we used to have to take out an old staircase that was only 38 inches wide and make it 42. And when you start taking columns out of an old building, oak columns and big pine columns and so forth, you wreck the building. And so we had to get in and get the city to go to a code system where we can fix it up without costing more money, because they are expensive to refurbish.
And some of those changes, Ryan, might include so that the city has changed?
I think we've done a lot recently to make this area more attractive for development. We've certainly introduced new form codes so that you're able to match the characteristics of existing buildings and have a different standard with a recognition that we're talking about some of the older and oldest buildings in the city of Peoria, buildings that are 100 years old that have stood empty now for several years. And rather than tie up developers on some of the other development standards that you might see in a greenfield, as Pat said, what can we do to really bring development into these areas right now? And we feel that the Warehouse District may be one of the most unique opportunities for the city of Peoria to create a new neighborhood right in our downtown.
And the city has also created TIF districts and things that might be incentives for developers to come in and say, let's take old buildings rather than do greenfield?
Well, definitely. I mean, I think Pat is a perfect example of somebody who has taken an older building and done something with it, but he'd be the first to admit that it was probably a lot more expensive than if you built Kelleher's out, on Pioneer Parkway somewhere in a brand new building. These buildings weren't built to be mixed-use buildings, so the HVAC systems don't run all the way up to the 8th floor of these buildings, because it used to just be literally a warehouse. The plumbing and some of those things. So we know that the buildings are more expensive. So what the city has tried to do is create some incentives that help bring that cost down to a level that makes it competitive with greenfield. So in the TIF, what we've been doing is any new property taxes that are associated with redevelopment, we've been rebating 50% to the property owner. For certain historical buildings, the historic tax credits will help to reduce the cost. It doesn't reduce the cost upfront, but it creates a rebate for you in taxable credits. So if it's a historical building, you can get a 20% federal tax credit as well as a 25% state tax credit. So that means for every dollar you're putting into the renovation, you're getting 45 cents back in tax credits. It's also in an enterprise zone, which means you don't pay building materials, you don't pay sales tax on building materials. So all of these different incentives layer together in a way to try to help reduce the overall cost. They're still very expensive buildings to do, but we think there's a lot of reasons to do this. It's a great market for this sort of product.
Pat, that's made a difference to you?
Well, it will. We were sort of way ahead of the game where we were able to get in there 15, 18 years ago, 20 years ago. And buy,
before the TIF and
right,
before
yeah,
historic tax credits.
Right. And so we were able to do that. But what we like to tell people on this TIF, if I'm paying 50 cents a foot right now for this old warehouse building, and I've got 20,000 square feet, the schools, the city, and everybody still gets that 50 cents a square foot on taxes. They don't lose that. Now I just put in $10 million to rehab it. Of course, the tax assessor is going to come around and say, wait a minute, your property tax just went to $2.50 or $3.50 a square foot, or whatever it is. That's the increment. They still get that 50 cents, but the increment is what we split. And that gives us the incentive to do this, and it gives the governmental bodies to do it. And that's the simplest way I can explain it. But then after 21 or 2 years, the city and the school districts and everybody gets it all. Mm-hmm. So it's like a bank loaning you money for 22 years. If you want to put that into it, you don't have to. It could stay empty, and that doesn't do anybody any good.
There's your definition of TIF, tax increment financing.
I
We've
didn't
got
mean to do that,
a lot of issues to talk about,
Yeah.
but first, Channel 47 photographer Todd Pilon and I had a chance to go to Omaha, Nebraska to visit the Old Market. A father and son combination, Sam and Mark Mercer, they owned a couple of warehouses. They have since bought some more. And over a period of about 4 decades, Omaha has converted the warehouse district there to the Old Market. Let's take a look.
In the first year, I think we had the galleries, the coffee shops, movie theater, bookstore, sort of head shop, psychedelic place.
I think truly the Mercers were the champions of the Old Market. They owned some of the buildings. They then later bought more buildings and added to it, and it was really their initial ownership and acquisition, and what they had in mind for it that really set the tone for the market.
Right in the center, there were some fruit wholesalers still going on, and for a long time, the Central Supply and Rubber Company, farm equipment. And then across 10th Street, a big area called Jobbers Canyon with wholesale farm equipment people, wholesale hardware people.
You have to let it evolve. If you try to create it from scratch, it's never as authentic as if it evolves.
I don't think ever to try to get rid of wholesalers or manufacturings or anything like that. They coexisted well.
Oh, I love the Old Market. It's original. You never know what you're going to see when you come to work every day. It's a great place.
Having restaurants and shops that were unique and one of a kind really helped to draw people from the outside. Once people experienced the market and enjoyed the market, then as housing became available, they took advantage of that and so that they could live in the place that they enjoy.
Property owners in the Old Market petitioned the city for landmark commission status in 1985 to monitor proposed changes to the exterior of buildings.
We felt that the most appropriate thing was to let it evolve, and I think that was the Mercer's philosophy as well, but in a way that whatever changes were made would be appropriate, would be in character with the area.
The city provided a parking deck at the edge of the Old Market, but also made sure on-street parking was available. Parking was one of several supportive efforts by the city of Omaha.
The city has provided tax increment financing over the years for many of the renovations that have taken place in the old market. Of course, we've also helped from the standpoint of historic tax credits and the work that's needed to go along with that. Without those tools, I don't believe you would have seen the level of development that we've seen in and around the old market.
The owners of the building are wonderful. They have made a point to stay away from renting to franchises and basically want small businesses with the owners present here.
It's important to protect the old market and keep its unique character, and at the same time make sure that what happens in the rest of downtown complements the old market but doesn't detract from the old market.
I was surprised how many people come to Omaha, Nebraska, even from other countries. And I guess when they come to Omaha, this is where they bring everybody.
Much like Peoria, there are new facilities just blocks away from the old market to help attract people to the area. The Quest Convention Center and the TD Ameritrade Ballpark are within walking distance of the old market and all it has to offer.
Look at me, I'm still hanging around, well, I'm still around.
Great musicians are yet to come in Peoria, but let's talk about some of the things in terms of comparisons. One of the things that we saw when we were there was that the Mercer family, the Mercer Management Company, seems to be the champion, and they have a passion. Is there a champion for the warehouse district?
Well, I think you've got maybe one of them right here. I mean, I think Pat Sullivan has been a pioneer and a champion in the warehouse district for a long time. And so certainly, without Pat, I don't know if we would have some of the vision that we've had and some of the progress that we've had down there. But I think the community has also become a champion in and of itself, and maybe led by Pat. But the city council over the last few years has, I think, dedicated a lot of resources and a lot of emphasis to the warehouse district. The recent strategic plan that the council just passed included, in one of just 5 goals, 20% of the goals included a lively downtown and warehouse district. So I think you have started to see others kind of take up that mantle and say, this is a very important part of our community and an important part of our future.
This survey session that Lyle Sumac conducted just a couple of weeks ago at the Gatehouse building, the tables were listing what was important. Warehouse district came up repeatedly.
Right.
The council sees a Pat Sullivan and says we need to attract more. Are we attracting more developers?
We are.
Is he the key?
I think working off of a model that Pat Sullivan has created, we see that there are opportunities in this warehouse district. And when you compare some of the similarities to Peoria and Omaha, for example, we know that we need to do and are doing many of the same things that they've done. In the last 5 years, the City Council has passed a TIF district for the warehouse area. We've developed the first state of Illinois historic tax credit program. Didn't exist in Illinois before we began work on this project. Now it's available as a tool to encourage redevelopment of these historic buildings. And we've delivered now, and will be under construction next year, $25 million of public infrastructure improvements. So we changed the characteristics of these streets from state superhighways into more pedestrian-focused, slowly traveled streets that are really receptive and conducive for residential development, just like you saw in some of the street corners and pedestrian areas in Omaha.
When will that happen?
Well, there's 2 different projects. One is the Washington Street project, and that is in the design phase right now. The City Council has approved the concept that the Washington Street Advisory Group and the engineering team have put together. So they're now into the nuts and bolts of how high the curbs are going to be and what the radiuses are going to be. That will all be done by the winter. and we should have the contract bid out in the spring. And for the first day of the spring build, we should start to see work happening from Harrison Street, where the roundabout will be, all the way down towards Maple and Persimmon in those areas. The other streets, Adams and Jefferson, and some of the cross streets, plus the creation of a new street, kind of running between Water and Washington from State on down. That will all start to happen towards the end of next summer, and then the following summer. So they're kind of staggered by about 8 months or so. But I think people will start to see a transformation as soon as April and May of next year.
Truck traffic is a major concern. Will truck traffic be reduced?
Truck traffic will be different in downtown Peoria, and we know that that's a significant issue. We're projecting that we can introduce 2,000 new residential units to downtown and the warehouse district over the next 10 years. But one major issue with that is that you don't create a neighborhood adjacent to some of the most heavily trafficked truck routes in the city of Peoria. And so we're changing the streets, particularly Washington Street, from 7 lanes and 5 lanes. It will be greatly reduced, fewer travel lanes, and there'll be other areas where trucks may be able to move about more freely. Now, certainly trucks are the engine of business. I mean, and all of the different businesses that we have in downtown in the warehouse district currently, and those that we want to attract, will need to receive deliveries and need to do their work. But trucks that are maybe just passing through will likely find other routes that are more friendly for them if they don't have a terminal destination within the warehouse district. And things like the roundabout, the lane reductions, and then having an interstate highway to the south of our corporate limits in the city really sets up some better routes for the future. And what that will allow us to do, we're going to have a lot of people interested in living along these streets.
And I think, just to follow up quickly on that, we've been working with the businesses. I mean, ADM is a huge acceptor of truck traffic and a very valuable part of the community. And so we've been working with them on how the street design right around there will help to improve the flow of their trucks. They've been working on doubling their staging capacity so that more trucks can be on their property
So
at
you
one
won't
time.
have
So you won't have a
Washington
line,
with a line of
right,
trucks.
You won't have a line of trucks. We're working on the timing of the lights so that their trucks can make proper movements and not be stacked up. So I think that we've tried to take as comprehensive. At least one or two of the guys from ADM were a member of the Washington Street Advisory Group, so they were there sitting next to Pat Sullivan, sitting next to other developers and interested parties and stakeholders, and saying, yes, this will work for us and this will help our drivers.
But just like Mr. Mercer in this segment you had here, we don't want some of these businesses to go away. I mean, they're jobs, and Lucas Steel's been here for over 150 years. Right. We don't want them to go. They've been in every discussion, every commission. We as the warehouse district have an association, and we get together and we talk to the city, we talk to the state, and we talk to all the businesses saying we don't want them to go away. And there'll be trucks going through here. They're just not going to get to go through at the speeds they're going through, and they'll find the faster way, as Ryan said, on our highways that we built for them.
You mentioned keeping some of those businesses. Mark Mercer in the video talked about coexisting with for many years. It's kind of evolved over time, but the HVAC companies, the plumbing companies all stayed for quite some time.
Right.
And you're expecting the same thing
We'll
here.
see the same thing here, and that's important because the idea of an environment like our warehouse district, where we have true mixed-use opportunities with people living and working within this district, is a very powerful force. And so having these jobs, whether they're in some of the older businesses that already exist in the warehouse district, or whether there's some of the office jobs that exist in downtown, what a community environment will create through this district when you have people that are young people and older residents that are living in buildings, they're eating in the restaurants down on the first floor, they're walking to work in the morning, they're coming back at the end of the day, stopping at the ballpark to see a Chiefs game. This is the environment that we're looking for, and what it will do is bring more and more business to our community, because right now our downtown population is effectively an 8 to 5 population. And for business to be successful in this part of our community, as so many of us want to see, we want to see the downtown and warehouse districts flourish. We need a more sizable population that exists here permanently. And we know that there's a tremendous market demand for people that want to live in this warehouse environment.
And I had a friend of mine who lives in East Peoria, who was complimenting Peoria on its warehouse district before it's even really gotten off the ground. But he went to a First Friday exhibit at the Mill, and then he came to Pat's Place and sat outside and listened to music. And then there was something going on at Rhythm Kitchen that night, and Martini's down on Water Street had a band, and there was a band at the CEFCU stage. The idea that he walked from one place to the other is exactly, and the only thing better would be if he then went home and it was right there, and got up the next morning and went to work.
Well,
that.
you heard Steve in the video from Omaha. Steve Jensen said that their process was such that they created a unique environment which attracted people from outside to come. Once that unique environment established itself, then people said, I want to live near that unique environment. So the old market was created first, not to the exclusion of housing, but we need housing downtown or down in the warehouse district?
Not only do we need it, we know that people want it. We, in 2008, we commissioned a very reputable firm called Tracy Cross to do a study of the apartment or of the housing needs in downtown Peoria. And at that time they said, well, we see over the next 10 years, you could add 200 housing units per year for the next 10 years. And they really felt that the need was for rental, that we don't have as many rental units in downtown Peoria as we should, as all of their projections show. Well, 2008 we had it done right before the real recession happened here in Peoria. And so in 2009 and then in 2010, we went back to Tracy Cross and said, nobody believes these numbers from 2008. Could you run your numbers again? And both times they came back. So the most recent one we have was actually from January of 2011 when they delivered it. And each time they said, no, we still stand by our original numbers. So people actually want to live there.
Those are projections. You have reality. You are developing businesses and housing stock at the same time.
And I have a waiting list, especially on the housing.
On housing.
Yes. I have 2 to 3 people waiting and wanting to get in. And some of them move into smaller apartments to get into the larger ones at a later date just so they can be first on the list. And so that's exciting. We're getting ready to do more condos and apartments. The banking industry and the economics is slowing a few things down, but there's still a waiting list, and we feel that this Tracy Cross study was huge, coming back with their reassessment of our housing stock and what we need to do in the warehouse district.
If that's the case, Ryan, outside developers, we know there's some interested. We've talked about the Florida outfit, and what's the level of interest from outsiders to say, yes, this is ripe, it's time, despite the economy?
Right. I think the tools that we've put in place really show us that they have been the right tools, because not only do you have local developers like Pat Sullivan that really have been invested in this for decades now, but you have these outside firms from other communities throughout the country that are now approaching Peoria, Illinois, saying, we like what you're doing here and we want to be involved. You have all the right tools, from the historic tax credits, the TIF, now all of the money being invested in the streets, so the developers don't have to improve the streets. They can focus on what they do best, private redevelopment activities of these really fantastic buildings. And it is our building stock also that is attracting people to this community. And so those developers look at all the tools that are in place in Peoria and then our natural environment and adjacency to the riverfront. And they say, this is the place we want to be.
We've talked about Pat Sullivan, we've talked about outside interest. Pat Sullivan isn't the only developer in Peoria who owns buildings in the warehouse district.
No,
what about Kurt Huber?
Sure, and I think that guys like Kurt Huber, who did great work at 401 Water, has continued to do work in the 400 block of Southwest Washington, just renovated a building and put an engineering firm in 412 Southwest Washington. I think that there's guys like Dennis Slape who own a small building.
820 Southwest Adams.
Right, and would love to do more, and has done some great things with his building. I think we have a lot of folks here in Peoria who are very interested in doing the work. But I think Pat would be the first to agree, there's plenty of opportunity for everybody. And short of somebody winning the lottery, there's a lot of money that can be invested in this area to make it be what we want it to be. And I think that's going to require both local guys who know what the local environment is and have been investors and stakeholders. And it might take some outside folks that say, we really see this as an opportunity.
My business partner, yeah.
We've run out of Mr. Hunt.
Yeah, John Hunt and I, we've always opened our arms to every developer from outside because we know we can't do it all.
And we know that on-street parking is critical to this, and that's why
Yes.
the renovation of Washington Street. And with that, we've run out of time. We know that Omaha took 40 years to get to the point where they're at. We've got some time yet, but we need to see some activity.
I'm losing it.
And with that, thank you to Pat Sullivan. We appreciate your being here. To Chris Setti from the City of Peoria, City Councilman Ryan Spain. Thank you all for the conversation. We hope you continue the conversation at home on what happens next to Peoria's warehouse district. Thank you for joining us on At Issue. We'll be back next week with another edition.